From the creators of the original Cheat Sheet Rankings, this is the Fantasy Index Podcast. Brought to you by Fantasy Index, the original and best since 1987. Now your hosts, Luke Wilson and Colt Williams.
Hello out there, everybody, and welcome back for this week's version of the Fantasy Index Podcast. We're back, baby. The gruesome twosome are riding again. Colt Williams back with us for this week's installment of the podcast, and got some news about the podcast for the remainder of the 2024 season. Nobody get up in arms. It's good stuff. Before we get to that, though, Colt, how are you? I mean, I'm looking you over. I don't see any first or second degree burns. Did you make it? How'd you do? How'd you fare making it back to civilization?
Yeah, so we got out of the wildfires here in California. There's an app. It's called Watch Time or Watch Fire or something like that. Anyways, you load it up. It looks like a GPS, and the entire state was on fire. Now, as somebody who lives in a townhome, we don't have a backyard or anything like that. We have to walk our dogs outside, and it couldn't be pouring more. It's the absolute opposite, and it never rains here. It rains for like a whole month, and then it stops. It just started, and so, yeah, no more fires, I would assume, for quite a while.
Well, silver lining.
Silver lining.
Well, we're glad to have you back, and just in time for the stretch run. Obviously, we're heading into week 12. If you're still in it, you know it. If you're out of it, well, you can play spoiler. All right, so Colt, why don't you tell the people a little bit about, obviously, our format to this point in the season has been waiver wire centric. What is it going to look like going forward as we come down the backstretch?
Yeah, so typically we've done if you're listening, for the first time, if you're returning, obviously, welcome back. But we've done a waiver wire episode each and every single Monday. It comes out on Tuesdays. And that has been like a little bit of news over the weekend, who got concussion, who got injured, whatever it is. And then we go into the waiver wire. We found that, and we think, and feel free to let us know in the comments, but it would be a little bit more rewarding to our audience if we went through game by game, give a quick 3 to 5 minutes on each game on who we're playing, who we're not, like what the matchup actually looks like, what's the over-under, what's the weather look like, because as I mentioned, it's a monsoon out right now. Like, you couldn't throw the ball 20 yards because the rain's coming down so hard. So what does it look like, and just kind of getting into the nitty-gritty of each individual game to give you a better understanding of what each game looks like. And we're going to help you out in certain ways. Like, I've got a personal question here where it's like, hey, do I start James Conner in this particular matchup, or Kyron Williams, versus the Eagles? So it's like you've got we're going to be playing devil's advocate and hopefully answering indirect questions on people that you'll have in your fantasy league.
Right, because now at this point in the season, waiver wires are running pretty dry in just about every league, unless you're in like a 6-team league or something like that. And from here on out, it's about making the right lineup decisions. It's about starting the right guy in the right spot. So we're going to focus on helping you do that. All right. So to kick us off, who do we have in Thursday Night Football this week, Mr. Williams?
Yes. So we have a divisional breakdown here. We've got Thursday Night Football, Steelers versus the Browns. The line is 36.5. It originally opened at 41.5, but yeah, 36.5 is what it's been bet down to. And that's just kind of what you expected. I mean, we talked about it a little bit on Monday before you were having your connection issues, but you're like, oh, I thought it would be much lower than this. And yeah, sure enough, I think it's a little bit due to, one, pretty decent defenses, certainly on the Steelers side, but, the weather. Sure. This one is a weather game at a high chance of rain, maybe even snow, and heavy winds. So this is one where it's very ugly as far as weather goes. Certainly the worst weather game of the week. But so you look at the quarterbacks, like, are you starting Jameis Winston? He's thrown it 40-plus pass attempts on each of his 3 starts. Like, he's averaging over 320 yards. But he's going against the Steelers' defense. Like, they're second against quarterbacks. They're elite. Like, this is a really, really tough one. Quarterbacks against the Steelers averaging 11.5 fantasy points. So, are you starting Jameis in any of your leagues?
No. I just, it's got to be dire. I'm in a league where literally any quarterback that I could shove out there, I would. Cooper Rush, absolutely, get out there. I'm starting you this week. Unless you're in that kind of situation, I'm not doing it. Let's face facts. The Steelers just erased the overwhelming quarterback one last week. They just did that. Now, that was a bigger spot. The Steelers, obviously, they get up for the Ravens matchup in a big way. This is a big rivalry too, and the Steelers, didn't go out there and handle the Ravens just to turn around and give that space that winning that game created for them back by struggling against the Browns. Jameis Winston is not very good. Like let's not shy away from that fact. Is he going to throw it a ton? Yeah, sure, probably. The Browns can't run the ball and they're going to be trailing, but he's going to be running for his life. The weather conditions are not like keep. What does Jameis want to dink and dunk and play Drew Brees ball? No, he wants to. He wants to have the Madden 80-yarder every other play if he can. This is
Elijah
not the right
Moore.
weather for that.
Like,
Like yeah, I mean, this sets up as like a 2 touchdown, 3 to 4 interception game, best case for Jameis. I'm not. I'm not going to stay. I mean, in a getting to where we are in the season, where okay, I need to stop farting around and win these matchups. No, not
yeah.
for me.
Other side of the ball, Russ. You starting him at all? I mean, this one it's a little bit more favorable than Jameis. I'd start Russ over Jameis in that kind of vacuum, but still like a middling
Sure.
quarterback too.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Steelers want to, get a lead, get a 7-10 point lead, and lean on the run heavily. He's probably not in my top 15 quarterbacks to play this week. What do you think?
Yeah, just outside the top 15. Yeah. So in most leagues, you're not starting him. Hopefully, you've got other options. But yeah, if you want to go back to the Russ well, I think you certainly can. Last week we would have hoped to see a better outing. There against the Ravens and their very run funnel or pass funnel defense. And yeah, I mean that would have been a good start for Russ. We certainly encouraged that. Given the weather, and you were talking about kind of running the ball a little bit more, Najee Harris, 10 plus fantasy points in 5 straight games. You mentioned it here. The Browns, they got ripped apart by Taysom Hill. Najee Harris is certainly in play. Jalen Warren getting 13 opportunities a game since Russ took over. Like he doesn't get any goal line work, but this might be a game where they just keep it on the ground. You see Najee Harris is in for you, I would imagine, especially with 6 teams on bye. But Jalen Warren, is he in lineups?
So the whole and the Cleveland run defense is showing is still a very imposing matchup.
Yeah.
It's not as imposing as it looks to be on a lot of apps. The whole thing with Warren was like, yeah, he's gonna give up the rush attempts to Najee Harris, sure, but he's gonna run away with the passing down work. The Steelers just haven't thrown to either running back. Last week was Warren's first game with four receptions all season. He has one game with 3. So between that and the lack of touchdowns, I mean, it's a little bit of the Devin Singletary effect back in the Buffalo days where like, yeah, he's gonna get some yardage every week. He's got a nice 40 total yard floor. And in certain leagues, depending on your situation at running back, that has real value. But he's not getting receptions for PPR formats and he's not getting touchdowns for touchdown heavy. It's empty yardage. So I don't love it. And then if the Steelers go up 10, 14, 20 points, it's going to be Najee. It's not going to be Jalen. So
Yeah, I like Jalen Warren over Nick Chubb on the other side of the ball. Like Nick Chubb he's failed to hit 10 fantasy points since returning. I think so. That's 4-week stretch. Like he's not been great. According to Kevin Stefanski, Browns head coach, they said that was planned because they were resting him a little bit more for Thursday Night Football. While I believe that, or take it with a grain of salt, it's like he just, no matter what, hasn't looked good. And he had a touchdown in one of those games, and he failed to get 10 fantasy points. So, yeah, I'd start Jalen Warren over Nick Chubb. I think that's a kind of an easier one for me.
Yeah, back when it came into focus as a real possibility that Nick Chubb was going to play a significant number of games this season. Right away, I was like, okay, but frickin' how? Like, I saw his knee explode last September. I saw it. I know what happened. You can't just be like, oh, yeah, no, he killed his rehab. What? His leg wasn't even on. So, yeah, the fact that as soon as they said, like, oh, no, he's going to be back midseason, I was like, okay, well, then there's no way he's playing significant snaps. Like, it's not possible. It's not even responsible. And, yeah, looking at his game logs here, he has, I mean, amazingly, he topped 40% of the snaps against Baltimore, but he hasn't since.
Mm-hmm.
This is a Cal Ripken's last season with the Orioles, it was kind of a farewell tour, and that's kind of what this feels like for Chubb on a Browns team that needs to not win games. So yeah, I can't in touchdown only, and you're desperate bye weeks and stuff. Sure, he's a decent bet for a touchdown, but other than that, no, it's not good.
I gotcha.
Not good.
George Pickens, Steelers wide receiver. You're firing him up. He's the wide receiver 3 since Russ took over.
Yup.
For the Browns, rank these wide receivers: Cedric Tillman, Jerry Jeudy, and Elijah Moore, because people want to know anybody but Moore.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
He's not good. He's got 29 targets over the last 3 games. Sure, fine. He had a lot of targets last year. He's
true.
not good. He doesn't catch them. When he does catch them, he doesn't do anything with them. He's just not good, guys. And yeah, he had a good game against the Ravens 3 weeks ago, and then against the Saints on Sunday. Those are bad defenses. The Steelers are a good defense. He's not a good bet. He's just not a good bet for me.
I got you. So who do you have at 1?
I'll get Jeudy and Tillman. They feel like a push. They're kind of sharing number 1 responsibilities. Obviously, Judy's spike in production is propped up by that long touchdown with 89
yards. Yeah.
89 glorious yards for Jerry Jeudy against the Saints last week. Take that out. The numbers get real tame real fast. Tillman's the better player. Will Jeudy see more volume? Quite possibly, but either one of them is like a wide receiver 3 with a lot of upside and a low floor.
Yeah, gotcha. David Njoku, yes, you can start him. Pat Freiermuth, 2 games above, 40 receiving yards all season, 3 touchdowns on the season. Like, there are better options out there. Will Disley is somebody.
In a world with Jonnu Smith and Taysom Hill out there, what are you doing with Freiermuth?
Yeah, exactly. Great player. Just certainly not his year. It's kind of been a downfall. Maybe even this last year. The year before that. So on the defenses, play the Steelers. Jameis Winston's prone to turning it over. I don't love playing the Browns, but arguably with a very, very low over under, you probably could. But yeah, there's so many other middling defenses against really bad offenses that you can play this week.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on your scoring, I suppose. If giving up 30 points is not overly punitive, then I like the Browns a little bit better, but I don't particularly like it. The Steelers are going to control this game.
Here's one you're not going to love to like as a Cowboys fan. Let's go on to the Sunday games. We're starting with the early games. Cowboys versus the Commanders. This one here, you're talking about Cooper Rush earlier. He will start for the Cowboys. He will not start for my fantasy team. He threw it 55 times, so that bodes well for some of the receivers and the running backs. But everybody else. I mean, Cooper Rush is not somebody I'm starting. Jaden Daniels, obviously, you're starting him back-to-back down weeks. He faced the Steelers and the Eagles. Comes back. He's facing a Cowboys team who's struggling. So, fired Jaden Daniels up. At running back, Brian Robinson, I think you could throw him right back out there. Austin Eckler, I mean, this one here, I don't necessarily see a negative game script. That would be a surprise to me if the Cowboys got up in this one. So it's likely low on the passing work. And I venture to say you probably see a mix of Jeremy McNichols and Austin Eckler. So if the game goes as planned, this one here, 45.5 point over under, it's Commanders minus 10.5. So pretty one-sided.
I will say that Robinson and Eckler are almost co-RB1s. They're on the field together a lot. The Commanders run 2 running back formations more than any other team in the league. So in full PPR, it must be full PPR, guys. You shouldn't shy away from Eckler just because Robinson's back. And keep in mind, Robinson's been banged up a lot this year. Yeah. So they get a big lead here. Are they really going to put extra work on Robinson over Eckler and McNichols? I doubt it. I think the Cowboys are going to lose by a large margin in this game. I know that's not exactly a bold take these days, but keep in mind it's Dan Quinn who was the Cowboys defensive coordinator last year. The Commanders have a lot of players that came over from the Cowboys. They're going to want to stick it to him in their house. They're going to want to stick it to him, and they probably will. So what does that mean for your Cowboys, your Commanders? That's kind of for you to decide. But I would say that it's going to be Commanders by 20 plus. So yeah,
there you go.
Being real.
Rico Dowdle.
Mike McCarthy might not be coming back with the team. He really might not.
Hey,
I'm not kidding. Might not.
They're at the at the plane. They're like, hey, wait. Let me see your credentials.
Hey, Mike, you're from Pittsburgh. That's not far from here. Start walking.
Rico Dowdle, Cowboys running back, a low end running back too, probably. I'd say this week.
Well, in PPR, I mean, it's very much dependent on
Yeah,
the PPR aspect for me.
yeah. That is a good point. So we're expecting to see this one be very negative game script for for the Cowboys. So yeah, we should see. Hopefully, he catches some of them. I think he had like 5 targets last week, but I don't know if he caught a
Yeah,
lot,
he
if
didn't
any at
see as
all.
much. Yeah.
But
But
CD,
him and Schoonmaker, who we'll get to him in a minute, but
yeah.
yeah, with the Cowboys' offensive line issues, there should be a lot of dump offs. Him, Dowdle, and Schoonmaker should be eating well on that front this week.
Yeah, no, certainly. That's obviously assuming that Jake Ferguson misses the game. Cowboys tied in, but I would expect him to miss. I mean, it's a concussion. We see it. Usually takes a week to get back, but
McCarthy already came out today and said he doesn't see it happening.
oh
So
really? Okay.
yeah, so it's looking like Schoonmaker.
There we go. There we go. CD Lamb. I think you can fire him up. I mean, I'm not expecting. I don't even know if Cooper Rush finishes this game. I expect him to because I think we've seen enough of Trey Lance. Even though Jerry Jones keeps coming out there and saying, "Hey, we're gonna get some packages for him." Like packages are like what we saw with Justin Fields in the Steelers Ravens game. Like, third down and 2. Like we need you to run it outside, something like that. But CD Lamb, I think he's a fine play. Obviously, doesn't have that really high ceiling. You're asking would I trade for Lamb right now?
No, I'm saying if you have Lamb, trade deadline has not hit yet for your league. What would you take to get rid of Lamb before? Like, basically, I'm asking, what is your outlook for Lamb for rest of season, given the Cooper Rush factor? What's a wide receiver you would jump to get away from the risk that is CD Lamb at this point?
I mean,
And the
he still
diminished
has. I
ceiling.
think he still has a high ceiling because it just his yards after catch like is something that you can't replicate. Like some people would look at, obviously in a redraft, but like Cortland Sutton for Lamb, like I could see an argument for that. I don't want to go there. I'd keep Lamb, and maybe that's just the name factor. But he is somebody who can break it, and go the distance.
I will say that after Monday night, McCarthy did say that he regretted not getting Trey Lance in the game. Trey Lance is going to play a significant portion of this game. I'm relatively confident.
Yeah.
I consider that to be good news for any Cowboys pass
Not at
catchers,
all.
certainly CD Lamb. So bear that in mind, guys. Bear that in mind.
Bear that in mind. Terry McLaurin, I mean, he got shut out last week against the Eagles. That was pretty expected, but you can go back to Terry McLaurin here this week. We should certainly see. Hopefully, they just don't go up so much that they stop using Terry. Like I don't think that's the case. We saw it with. Yeah, are you skeptical about Terry McLaurin? Your eyes kind of say that you were.
If the Commanders are up 20 at halftime, how'd they get up 20 at halftime? I mean,
That's true.
Terry probably did all right. So I'm not scared of that, but I do think this game is going to get away from the Cowboys pretty fast. I mean, the end stage Chargers last year under Brandon Staley, that's the Cowboys right now. Like it is a death march, and everyone's getting fired. So, it could absolutely be the Commanders that put their lights out. But yeah, McLaurin. Keep in mind, everybody took McLaurin as a wide receiver 3 at most.
Yeah.
Unless you went super robust in your RBs. So he eats like a wide receiver 2. You're still coming out ahead of what you spent on him for sure. Yeah, he's a go. He's a start for sure.
I don't have any Terry McLaurin. I had him for 2 weeks in
Yeah, me neither.
Dynasty. I had him for 2 weeks in Dynasty, and then I sold him because he didn't have a down. It was like for a second or something like that to a contender, and then he just goes off forever. So when I saw his down week these past couple weeks, I was like, yes. Like finally a down week. He's just been arguably a top 5 wide receiver. So yeah, no, he's been phenomenal. Luke Schoonmaker, tight end for the Cowboys. If you haven't heard that name before, 10 targets, 6 for 56. Like I don't think it matters who the quarterback is. Obviously, you want Cooper Rush in there because that's who we just saw him with. But a lot of little dump offs, in their effort to come back. So this is a game where they're going to need to come back, and Luke Schoonmaker could be a person you plug and play there. I'd still play, some of the streamers we talked about. Zach Ertz on the other side of the ball.
Sure.
Hunter Henry or Will Disley. Will Disley, I'm so in love with him for rest of the season. It's like top 6 is what I'm thinking. Like I have him locked and loaded. And maybe that's just hopium because again, I got him back on waivers though.
Pretty high, but top 10 I could see.
I'll take
top
it. At tight end, I'll take it.
Exactly.
And then we talked about the defense. Obviously you're not playing the Cowboys defense. We expect them to be coming back. And then if Trey Lance makes an appearance, certainly fire up the Commanders defense. Even if it's just Cooper Rush, still fire them off. They're a good defense, and then they're playing against a middling offense. Well, middling would be too high.
It would middle. They aim to middle. They would love to middle. Hey, middle. They'd love to.
Yeah.
And Cooper Rush has even been he's been fumbling snaps out of the shotgun. Like everything, the train is coming off of the tracks with the Cowboys. So yeah, I mean the Commanders splash play turnovers. They're a great bet for him. So yeah, play them. Let's move on to one of these teams is okay. Not Commanders. Let's move on to Bucks and Giants, both coming out of the bye week.
Yeah, Bucks and Giants. This is supposed to be a windy one. According to the weather, they're this is Wednesday, so obviously just take it with a grain of salt and check it when it gets a little bit closer. But 20 to 30 mile per hour winds. Like this is reporting to be a little bit of a wind gust, not necessarily rain, but a windy one. So quarterbacks, Baker Mayfield, you can fire him up. I'm certainly okay with that. I have a question, like Tommy DeVito at the Superflex question. So I have James Conner and I have Tommy DeVito, and I have a Superflex spot. Which way do you lean on who I should start?
Between Conner and DeVito, I mean, if that's truly the dilemma, I'm gonna say Conner. Like the Seahawks, Conner is gonna. We'll get to that in a bit. Conner's against the Seahawks. There should be a real floor there, production wise. DeVito, his ratios were dog ass terrible last year. I mean, like, did he win a couple games? Sure, he beat the Jets like 10-7 or some crap like that. He wasn't good. And you offer the theory that the Giants are trying to lose games. I don't agree with that, but it could certainly be true. And whether they're trying to or not, they might be losing them anyway. So DeVito was not good. So the fact that the Tampa defense has been very permissive to quarterbacks in fantasy, I have no faith that he's going to benefit from that fact whatsoever. You get crap versus crap, and you get crap typically. So Drew Lock, we could see Drew Lock in this game. It would not surprise me at all. You're talking about, he needs to create fantasy value for you with his legs. In all likelihood, I mean, maybe he shows a little bit as a passer. It's not impossible. But if you have a real alternative like James, I mean, I started Will Dissly, our guy, at Superflex last week, and he got me freaking 18 points. So, James Conner is I'm not going to step over $1 to pick up a dime. I'm not going to start, a scrub just because he happens to be a quarterback over a stud. So, yeah. That's where I'm
all right. Well, I'm rolling with it. I'm going to go with James Conner in the Superflex spot then. Running back.
You're welcome if it works out, and if it doesn't, it was not my fault.
This is free advice. At running back, we go to Tampa. We got Rachaad White, Bucky Irving. Over the past month, I'm going to share some stats with you here. Bucky Irving, 38 attempts, 164 yards. Rachaad White, 29 attempts, 119 yards. Both over 4 a carry. Irving's been more, and it's funny because he's a smaller back. Irving's been more of the primary, ball carrier, while White's been more of the passing down work guy. Irving has 14 missed tackles over the past month. That's elite. That is 7th in the NFL over that span. White has 0, and they're splitting goal line carries. So, in PPR leagues, obviously lean a little bit more Rachaad White's way, but don't shy away from Bucky Irving. He's not getting it all in that regard. But I think both of them are probably low end running back 2s this week. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree with that. Obviously, the Bucs should win this game. The Giants. I think Dabble's probably coaching for his job. I mean, that's already been kind of the word on the street, so to speak. But if he can at least be feisty, if the offense can show some pep, the Giants can lose and Dabble could still survive. I like either of them as a flex play more than necessarily RB2. Coming out of their bye though, usage here is going to be very telling. The Bucs have to win this game. They cannot afford to lose this game. Their season is in big trouble if they do. So usage, coming out of their bye week, they've had 2 weeks off. They've been getting ready for the Giants for 2 weeks. If it's Irving 65-70% of the touches, that's loud. That we need to take notice of that immediately. And if White hangs on to the lion's share, we need to take notice of that too, because Irving has played well. So if they continue to go to White heavily, that tells us that they're not going away from him just because Irving has been kind of a spark plug.
Yeah, absolutely. And on the Giants side, Tyrone Tracy, you're starting him at 3 out of his 6 starts. He's had over 100 yards. Like I did a little bit of research on it. I wanted to see in Tommy DeVito's starts, like what is his passing down work? Because I knew he had a low average, yards per attempt, but it wasn't going to the running back position. At least there wasn't an uptick or a downtick. So it wasn't necessarily a pro for the running back nor a con. So expect the same thing, for Tyrone Tracy, which has been great. So yeah, fire him up as arguably a running back 1 here this week. A wide receiver, if Mike Evans suits up, I'm playing him personally, but I need to see your sentiment on that. And then if he doesn't play, are you starting Sterling Shepard or Jalen McMillan? Where are you leaning in the Tampa wide receiver room?
It's at New York. That's not great because the colder weather is not going to be great for a guy coming back from a hamstring. I think Evans is probably going to go. I am downgrading Baker Mayfield if he doesn't, because the other receivers just haven't been as good.
Yeah.
He's made do all right with like Kate Otten, but Mike Evans, is Mike Evans. So you want to have him back there. I think he will go. So, to do with that information what you will. I could be wrong. The other guys just haven't shown enough. Like if they don't have Mike Evans, the offense changes. It's not like some guy steps into that role. So, I'm not overly tempted by Shepard or McMillan. They got to show me something first.
Yeah. I'm in the same boat. Like I don't want to start either one of those. Evans, I'm cool with, but that's about it. Malik Neighbors, yes, start him. I don't think there's a real big change in the quarterback. I think there could be an upgrade if Drew Lock were to make an appearance, but either way, it's all not great there in the Giants quarterback room. Wan'Dale Robinson, he's 9th in targets in the NFL, but wide receiver 43. Like it hasn't meant a lot with 6 teams on bye. Maybe a second flex, a flex if you really have to. I'm not excited to do that. The targets are there. The production certainly isn't. And then Kate Otten, whether Mike Evans is a go or not, I think he's certainly somebody you're playing. And then Theo Johnson, rookie tight end for the Giants, like in a pinch. He's gotten an uptick in work, but
full-time player now.
You've got to have other options than Theo Johnson, hopefully. The Bucks, start him. It's Tommy DeVito. Giants, they're playing against one of the best offenses in the league. I would still not start the Giants defense here. Let's go on to, this is going to be an ugly bloodbath here, which is funny. I'll tell you a little bit about it. But the Chiefs versus the Panthers, they're playing there in North Carolina. Yeah, this one is a 41.
Chiefs mad too.
41.5 point over under with Panthers, plus 11. Like this is going to be a very, very one-sided affair.
11 at home. My God.
Yeah. No, this was really bad. I just seen so many like edits about it or like shorts. Just if they were undefeated and they played against Bryce Young, like how much of a trap game that would have been. I was gonna bet it. So unfortunately, they lost last week, or fortunately, whoever side you see, they lost to the Bills last week. Patrick Mahomes, you could play him. You could play him. He's been not amazing, but like I want a little heat check on Patrick Mahomes. Are you starting the name, or are you starting somebody like Bo Nix versus the Raiders?
Oh, Nix. Yeah, no.
Bo Nix.
We gotta stop waiting for the Chiefs to turn back into the 2017 Chiefs. They don't want to. That's not their goal. They do not want to go out and hang 38 on the Panthers. There's no utility in it. They're trying to go win a Super Bowl. I think the Panthers probably cover at plus 11. The Chiefs don't need to blow out the Panthers. They're the Chiefs. The Panthers are the Panthers. They know they're better. They can beat them by 8. It's fine. So yeah, no, Mahomes, he's going to give you like a QB 15 finish. Which, again, like you took him in the 4th round, probably. So you're like, come on, do something. It's just not going to he doesn't have the receivers. They don't need to blow teams out. They're thinking about January. They don't care about right now.
100%. 100%. You're not starting Bryce Young. And then at the running back position, that's kind of where...
Moving.
I won't let you. He's winning. He's won his past 2 games, but not going to win his 3rd.
The Panthers are a little bit pesky, just a tiny bit pesky. They just got Daniel Jones fired.
Yeah, that's how they do it. But yeah, this is the Chiefs team is a team that plays for the playoffs, and that's exactly where we come to when we talk about the running back position. Kareem Hunt, like he's a fine running back too. I think, probably even could play him if Isaiah Pacheco is back. Because he's going to be limited. I would certainly expect him to be limited. You saw it. It was last year. He missed weeks 14 and 15. He comes back. He only played 50% of the snaps. So it was very telling. And they just want him for the playoffs. Like, that is their guy. They want to give him everything. And if Kareem Hunt was maybe struggling, then yeah, they'd give him a little bit more workload. But Kareem Hunt's been serviceable for the Chiefs. So yeah, I would definitely fire up Kareem Hunt here in a very plus matchup. Um, are you
Kareem Hunt's
starting?
not going away.
Are you starting
Kareem Hunt's
Isaiah
going to stay
Pacheco?
in this offense and all the way to the Super Bowl, assuming they get there.
Yeah.
Like Kareem Hunt is not going away. So yeah, Pacheco is a very dicey play rest of season. Cannot start him this week, even against the Panthers. I don't like it
Yeah. Yeah.
personally. I don't.
It's Chuba Hubbard. I mean, he's been the running back 11 on the year. He plays the number one running back defense, and Jonathan Brooks is going to make his debut. Like, I'm more so afraid of the matchup than Jonathan Brooks. I think Jonathan Brooks is a good running back, but this is the same kind of thing. You've seen a very serviceable player. Now here comes back what should be the starter, arguably. With Jonathan Brooks and Isaiah Pacheco coming back in the lineup. Would you start Kareem Hunt with Pacheco back, or on the other side of the ball, Cuba Hubbard with Jonathan Brooks going against the number one rush defense? Like,
I will say I'm not over. I mean, it's not a good matchup. Let's be real. But the Panthers have no other option. This isn't. There's a Jatavian Sanders game is not going to be a thing this year. Newsflash. Like they have no other option. Chuba Hubbard is their best player on offense. It is that
yeah,
simple. So they cannot go. It doesn't matter if he's getting stuffed over and over. It doesn't matter. They're gonna keep feeding the ball. So Hubbard is a flex play. He could find the end zone. He could. I would rather play Hunt. Hunt could get 2 touchdowns. So I'll chase that. I'll play either of them over Pacheco.
yeah,
Pacheco could be 15, 20, 25% of the snaps. Would not surprise me at all.
yeah. Would you play Brooks or Pacheco?
No, I'm not playing no Brooks.
Just neither. Just neither. Pick up Justice
No.
Hill. Play somebody else. Play Trey
Play me some
Benson.
Garth Brooks before you play me that Jonathan Brooks, my friend.
Yeah, no, I agree. I love that you talked about Jatavian Sanders, because we talked about the tight end section here. It's like Travis Kelce, yes. Jatavian Sanders, absolutely not. I like him as a
Well,
player.
the Chiefs have been vulnerable against tight end. Come on. No,
Yeah.
be serious.
No, trust me. I looked at a lot of matchups like that. Who's facing the Chiefs? Who's facing the Chiefs? And yeah, it was it was very tough
It
to.
worked. It worked for a bit.
It worked for a bit. It certainly did. At the wide receiver, DeAndre Hopkins, yeah, start him. Xavier Worthy, if you come into
Sure.
Thursday Night Football and you see that you are down horrendously, Xavier Worthy is that guy to try to help you get back into it. He's very boom bust. His boom games haven't been that otherworldly. So he's a scary player for me. Right now, he's still boom bust until he gets more acclimated into the offense. When that happens, who knows? Would I be surprised if he does it against this Panthers defense? Absolutely not. Like, he could do it here. For the Panthers pass catchers, are you starting Xavier Legette, Coker, like anybody there for the Panthers? Like, and if so, which one?
Yeah, who knows? I guess Liget. I mean, either they're kind of equivalent plays to me right now. Like neither one is really the one.
Yeah.
Um,
Adam
Bryce
Thielen?
Young. What's that?
Adam Thielen?
Is this his first game back, or did
Uh,
he play against the
Nah,
Giants?
yeah, he should be back here.
But is this his first game coming back from injury? I think it is.
I believe so. Yeah. And I mean, we didn't see him. He wasn't great earlier in the season when he had Bryce Young. 6 points, 3 points, like not great. And then he had like his week 3 when he caught the touchdown and got injured on the same play.
Yeah, coming back from the hamstring, I'm staying clear of that. He's an old man. He could randomly pop for 7 catches. Would not surprise me at all. But he could also goose egg. So I'm not this time of year. Not the time for it.
Yeah, I gotcha. The defenses, Chiefs, yeah, absolutely fire them up. You're not firing up the Panthers. Let's go on to the Vikings versus the Bears. This one here, over under is 39.5. This one is, I would take the under on that. I mean, it's been a very, very ugly. It's just 2 good defenses. Like this is how it's going to go. Sam Darnold. I got to ask a heat check on him. Like, would you start Sam Darnold versus the Bears, who are number 1 against the quarterback, or Anthony Richardson versus Lions?
I would go AR against the Lions.
Ooh,
I would.
Okay.
I would.
Okay.
I would. They put him back out there against the Jets. Granted, I think they probably realized the Jets are going belly up. This is a good spot for us. But they still want good things for AR. They still want him to succeed. They were not going to put him out there just to get him railroaded by a very talented defense in the Jets. So they had a measure of confidence that he had worked out, his many struggles so far in the 2024 season. The Lions, I mean, yeah, it is an imposing matchup. The Colts are absolutely going to lose that game in all likelihood, but the rushing floor, I mean, really is what it comes down to. That and the potential for big plays, which the Lions are vulnerable to. That over Darnold for sure for me.
What about Russell Wilson versus the Browns or Darnold versus the Bears? I think I'm sticking Darnold there. And well, I'll give you an example. I played Jordan Love last week against the Bears. I was extremely happy the first drive. I was like, oh, touchdown, Jaden Reed. Like, this is going to be so good. Like, I didn't love the matchup, but I didn't have other options. Or at least I didn't think that I did. And then he ended the game with 20 points because he found a rushing touchdown, but he threw it like 17 times. Jordan Love did not get a lot done against the Bears. So that's what scares me a little bit.
Yeah, no, I want off of Darnold. This is not going to be pretty.
Yeah.
The Bears could win this game. I mean, really, they could. I would take Russ against the Browns. The Steelers are going to be in control of that game. I don't know that the Vikings are. The Bears are for real. So, or their defense is. So
yeah, certainly. Aaron Jones at running back. Start him. DeAndre Swift. This one he missed Wednesday's practice with a groin injury. Even if he suits up, I mean, it's against a super tough matchup. Vikings are number 2 against the running backs. Like we saw Roschon Johnson get worked in last week. It's very ugly. So you gotta pay attention to if DeAndre Swift starts. Pick up Roschon if you don't already have him. If you're the Swift owner, just so you have some kind of spot start, especially with 6 teams on bye. Like you might be able to, pull out something here at least. I mean, Swift he hasn't looked great either. So I mean, there's a few question marks
had
around
a 4-yard
him.
touchdown last week. Let's not shovel too much dirt.
Yes, and then but all before that, it was where is he at? Why is he not on the field? Oh, he's on the field. Oh, he's not great. So I was
DeAndre Swift experience, babe.
That is the DeAndre Swift experience. It's like a ride that you're on, and it's like you're like, hey, do you work for an insurance company? Like, are you a lawyer? Like, I need help because this is a ride I want to get the hell off of.
7 RB1 day, 7 top 12 finishes for running backs, or sorry, 5 top 12 finishes in his last 7 weeks, sir. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
But a little bit of respect.
A little bit of respect. 7 weeks, yeah. How did he start the season? I know how he started the season. I had him in a league, so not great. Justin Jefferson.
There's a real chance he doesn't go. He's gonna be limited if he does.
Yeah.
I would go Eckler versus the Cowboys. I would over Swift because this is. I mean, the Vikings are no joke. That's the number 1 fantasy defense.
Yeah.
At least when I checked a couple days ago. So they're for real. I mean, the Bears could be. Caleb could be in. He could be seeing ghosts, Sam Darnold style, for a lot of this game. So it's Rico against the Commanders. That's a push. Just to give you some idea of how I feel about Swift here. If he's able to go in some sort of diminished capacity, him versus Dowdle is a push.
Yeah, and that's assuming he goes. Like I said, he's not practicing here on Wednesday.
Good
Wednesday's
chance.
very early. I take Friday probably the most important. Except for those are playing on Thursday, but yeah, Friday is a good tall tale on how things are going to go. Justin Jefferson, you're starting him, of course. Jordan Addison, you've been happy if he scores a touchdown. If he hasn't, you've been very sad. It's not quite the Xavier Worthy, line where it's kind of boom bust like that, but that's kind of how he has been so far on the season. Just as we did with the Browns wide receivers, I want to do it with the Bears. Rank the 3 Bears wide receivers: DJ Moore, Rome Odunze, and Keenan Allen.
That's the order for me.
That's the order.
I'm the Bears have some fence mending to do with DJ Moore before the season is up. So I expect that to take the form of the ball being funneled to him a fair amount. Odunze, they don't have to keep him happy. He's a rookie. He's not going anywhere. And Keenan Allen, like, who knows? Keenan Allen might not be back next year.
Yeah.
We don't really know what their plans are there. He might, but he might not. So, yeah, DJ Moore for me. He's the best player. Odunze is a hell of a young player, but DJ Moore is their best. So, yeah.
Yeah, and if you beat the Viking, it's through the air. That's how the Vikings they work. They are very much pass funnel, so it's got to go through the air. Hopefully, you get more than 200 passing yards from Caleb Williams. I mean, I don't know if we really touched on him too much. Like Caleb or Darnold in this matchup, like that's a question that people are going to have because it's just like I'd probably go Caleb, but I'm not excited. He's passing for 200 yards a game. Like it's not been great.
He did run for 70 yards last week.
He did.
So Thomas Brown obviously is in as the OC there. He's doing whatever he can
Yeah.
to get Caleb some relief against defenses. The Vikings, I mean, Flores' whole thing is that he confounds quarterbacks at the line of scrimmage with deceptive looks. He's gonna do that like crazy to Caleb because Caleb has struggled to process pre-snap, like what's coming at him. So Flores is gonna make him show that he can handle that, those disguised looks by doing it to him over and over until he does. So I don't like Caleb here at all. Like it's not a fair situation that he's in. The offensive line has had major struggles. The receivers are great. That's all well and good. It's not the whole picture. Um, Caleb could, but the increased rushing yardage gives him a real floor. So
Yeah.
I don't hate the play, but I'm very scared.
Yeah, I'd go Darnold out of the two. Caleb, I mean, he hasn't thrown a passing touchdown since week 6. We're going into week 12, by the way, so it has certainly been a very bad look. At the tight end position, like Cole Kmet, this is no Shane Waldron, and we see a season high in snap percentage, 97%. So he's out there, and it's very hard to divvy up and be fantasy relevant when you get 200 passing yards a game. You have 4, arguably 5 with DeAndre Swift, competent pass catchers. So Cole Kmet is somebody you can throw out there. Again, not a spot I'm super happy throwing him out, but he's in that same line with all the other streamers, arguably with a little bit more upside. TJ Hawkinson, I think you can go back to him. He had a down week, but yeah, you can go back to the Hawkinson well. Vikings, yeah, you can start this one. Do you think you could start the Bears versus the Vikings in this one?
I mean, 2 months ago, 2.5 months ago, Bears at home for Sam Darnold. Who wouldn't have? I mean, we would have been lining up to be able to do that. So let's not forget that the Bears defense is very good. I mean, that's why they were in that game against the Packers last week. Which, my God, what a heartbreaker! Caleb, for all of his struggles, and he's had a lot of them, he did take them down the field on that last drive. He did what he was supposed to do. He made clutch stick throws, throwing to a spot, anticipating his receiver and him would see the same play the same way. 3 or 4 plays on third down, fourth down to go and get them in field goal position, and then the kick gets blocked. I mean, you can't put that on Caleb. So it has been a true mixed bag for Caleb this year. But anyway, I digress. The Bears defense at home, I mean, they have to steal this game if they're going to keep their wild card hopes alive. They're going to show up. They're going to attack Darnold. They're going to get a couple turnovers. Are they going to get enough to flip the game is the question. So, yeah, I'll start either defense here for sure.
Yeah, Sam Darnold, 7 turnovers in the past 3 games. So he's been a little bit more turnover prone than he has been in the earlier season, as you were kind of mentioning.
And he just popped up on the injury report with a foot issue. So he's not 100%.
There we go. Let's go. Oh, this is a game I'm not really excited to talk about, but the Patriots versus the Dolphins.
Why not?
Oh, man, we've gotten snuck out some wins as Patriots fans, but
Jonnu revenge game.
It really is. No, he doesn't need a revenge game. We paid him a ton of money.
That's true. That's true.
We signed him, and then Hunter Henry like instantly, and that I immediately sunk down into my bed and started weeping. But this game right here, 46-point over under, Dolphins -7. Drake May,
high.
It is pretty high. I think it was bet up actually. I think this one was actually bet up, and I think that's because people were looking at Drake May saying, "Wow, he's kind of producing and putting points up." I'm not starting Drake May here. No, I've been excited. Yeah, I've been excited in some matchups. Dolphins defense gets quarterbacks. They're third. Like they're really really good. One of the best. Tua.
Ramsey's playing.
Tua, yeah, he's a streamer. You could stream him for sure.
Yeah. I agree.
Running back, Ramondre Stevenson. Yeah, middling running back 2. Devon Achane. You said you have him in a lot of leagues. I have him as one of the best running backs here this week. The Patriots' run defense is not great. Statistically, they're 21st against running backs, but I think this week they're 32nd. Like, I think it's going to be a really fun day for Devon Achane. Raheem Mostert, a lot of people drafted him and, hoping you get that 20 touchdown season again. I think he got you negative fantasy points last week. Jalen Wright slowly getting worked back into it. Like, is Raheem Mostert droppable?
He has 3 rush attempts over his last 2 games. He has played 15% of the snaps in those 2 games. Mostert has fallen out of the offense.
Yes.
he has fallen out of the offense. Like, is this the way? Is this the way it's going to be the rest of the season? I don't know, but maybe. I mean, he didn't fall out of the offense for no reason. He is healthy,
Yeah.
so um, yeah. I mean, in redraft, if it's Mostert versus, I mean, it's not a current example, but like an Audric Estime type pickup from a couple weeks ago, you got to drop Mostert in that
Mhm.
situation. You got to chase. You got to chase. Who's hot, and it's not Mostert.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about it. We've talked about it a ton of times on the waiver wire episodes where it's like, hey, get your insurance running backs. Sometimes we don't know exactly who is an insurance running back, but if I were to lean right now in the Miami backfield, like I'd go Jalen Wright. Younger, has more juice, has looked better. Like I'm not starting either one of these guys, but Mostert, I wouldn't blame you if you needed to drop him, especially with 6 bye weeks. Like, and there's 6 bye weeks in week 14, so you're going to need some spot starts. Try to game plan for those. Hold second defenses if you're already in the playoffs. Like that's what I like to do. Kind of get that leg up instead of holding these guys who just really haven't been producing.
Yeah.
You know, wide receivers for the Patriots. Like I'm gonna ask you again. Any of them at all? If I were to read it as a Patriots fan, I'd say Demario Douglas and then check out. Like, don't look at Kendrick Bourne. Don't look at Keishon Butte. Like, certainly not Polk. Jalen Polk has not been great.
No, he has not. He's got to go to separation school this offseason because he ain't been doing enough of it. Has Douglas even? I'm pulling up Douglas's numbers now
He's
because
been
Booty's been on the field a ton. Yeah, Booty is a full-time player. Douglas has not been. I know he's still seeing a fair amount of looks.
yeah
He's got 21 targets over the last 3 weeks. I mean, I don't want to start either of them. The Dolphins' pass defense is
yeah.
damn near steel curtain territory.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just not the week to mess around with Patriots fan fiction over trying to figure out who to start. If I had to start anybody, it might be Booty. I mean, they tried to get him going last week. He's been on the field a ton, but more than any other wide receiver of theirs. He had a big play. He had a big play right in the bucket that he dropped. Unfortunately, that would have been a huge gain. So that wasn't great, but they're giving him a lot of run. It's for a reason. I mean, Jared Mayo is trying to go like the meritocracy route, and Booty's doing something right. I mean, Javon Baker has been a ghost, and Douglas is only on the field in certain packages. So, but really, you don't want to eat any of them. Obviously, Tyreek Hill is a start, even though he did just pop up on the injury report himself. Keep an eye on that, folks. What are you? What is this about Jalen Waddle here, Cole?
I wanted you to guess how many games do you think he has over 10 half PPR fantasy points
Oh, that's
this
a
season?
trap.
He's played every game this season, so we've got a sample size of 10.
I know he hasn't been great. 3?
One in week 1
Oh
when he had
God.
109 yards.
Oof.
Since week 1, he hasn't eclipsed 57 yards. It's been very bad. He's had 1 touchdown in a game where he got -4 yards. I know it was a very weird. They were doing that whatever it is at the end of the game where you're throwing it back and forth, and it was a weird play like that.
The hook and ladder or
Yeah, the hook
whatever.
and ladder type stuff, and I was just like, oh my goodness. But yes, that was he's had 1 good game. Like he's a wide receiver 63 on the season. He's just been riding my bench. I can't drop him, but I think he's like Travis Etienne in the sense where like he's a landmine that I want somebody to start against me. Like if I saw Travis Etienne line up against me on my opponent's fantasy team, I'm ecstatic. Like I am so happy seeing that.
Yeah,
So
but I mean the Patriots defense is also not good. I will say, like the Dolphins probably are not going to make the playoffs. The AFC is just so stacked at the top. They need to at least stay in it because if they fall out of it before like week 16, 17, the music sure stopped in Miami abruptly. Like
mhm.
the first 2 years, Mike McDaniel was just he was Sean McVay 2.0. Everything he touched was turned to gold. What the hell happened this year? I know Tua got hurt, but oh my god, like Jalen Waddle disappeared. Tyreek Hill is mortal again, and Jonnu Smith has been one of the best things on offense for him. Even more so than Devon Achane lately.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a lot of questions that need to be answered, especially considering Tua just got paid. So, yeah, no, I don't know that I could start Waddle here, even against the Patriots. What should be a positive spot. It's where is it? They're playing in Miami. No, yeah, it's in Miami.
Yeah, Miami. Yeah.
You could do worse, but yeah, I don't love it.
Yeah,
Don't love it.
Where you can start though, and surprisingly, there's not a lot of games where you can start both tight ends, but Hunter Henry, Jonnu Smith, obviously, like you can start both of those guys. So a little round of applause for the Patriots and Dolphins putting this one together. Patriots defense. I mean, we talked about the Dolphins like being a little bit like not great. I'm not starting them. You could start the Dolphins defense, as you mentioned. They're kind of steel curtain esque in their pass defense. Top 10 this week, maybe top 12. Like I think they're fringe, as top 12 for a defense.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the Patriots could get into the 20s points wise on them. Wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah,
But yeah, I wouldn't shy away from playing them. They should get a couple turnovers, some sacks. So yeah.
yeah. Next matchup we got here: Titans versus the Texans. This one is a 41.5 point over under. Texans minus 8.5. Looking at the quarterback position, Will Levis. No, you're not starting him. He got 15 points last week, and that was Westbrook Akine, where he got like a 98 yard touchdown that kind of saved Will Levis's day. CJ Stroud, like I got another one here for you. Guess how many games he has over 20 fantasy points and 4-point passing touchdown?
The Jalen Waddle of quarterbacks in fantasy this year for sure.
He really has been.
I'm gonna guess 2.
He's got 1. And it was
Oh
against
my.
Jacksonville. Obviously, that's a very nice defense to play against. Um,
Yeah. Comes with
this
an
one
asterisk.
here, the Titans against quarterbacks, they're 21st, and they have no L'Jarius Sneed here this week, so expect that to be
Oof.
even worse. But CJ Stroud, I like to think that you could play him. Like, where is he ranking for you? You got CJ Stroud or Russell Wilson versus the Browns.
I'm gonna say Stroud because I gotta believe like the Texans need to turn it on.
Yeah,
They they wound up winning 34-10 against the Cowboys on Monday night. It was a game until the third quarter. Like
yeah.
the Cowboys hung around way longer than they should be hanging around against anybody that's serious right now. The Texans need to turn it on. They need to put this division away. If Stroud can't get it done against the Titans here with no Snead,
Mm.
this is a team that needs to lose. If he can't have a quality day, I would drop him for like Goff. That level of
Oh
quarterback,
yeah,
like it's just not working. It's just not working right now. And at a certain point, you got to get off the ride. So,
yeah. I
um,
definitely play him. Uh, oh,
but Nico was still. It was Nico's first game back last week. The Cowboys defense kind of showed up. Give him one more pass, but it's time. Like you got to show us some 2023 stuff here, CJ Stroud, or we're gonna have to walk away. You got Pollard here going to the running backs. You got Pollard here as a fine low end RB2. I don't know. I don't know about that anymore. The
yeah.
Titans have really dialed back his workload, like Brian Callahan said they would. He has not had 10 rush attempts the last 2 weeks, and the Titans run the Texans run defense is very respectable. So I think Pollard is more of a flex for me
Well,
personally.
let's get a little heat check. You talked about Austin Eckler earlier. Austin Eckler versus Dallas, or Tony Pollard.
Push.
Push. Okay.
That's a push for me.
Let's go DeAndre Swift versus Minnesota.
I mean, that's a little bit of loaded dice because Swift might not even go. I'll,
Right.
I'll go Pollard there. Yeah, I'll go
Okay.
Pollard there.
Rashad White or Bucky Irving versus the Giants.
Push,
Okay.
push. I mean, I'd say they're equivalent plays.
Yeah. So that's about the low end running back 2, high end running back 3.
It's a bad week for bye week. So
It,
yeah, I get what you're saying, but
it is. It is. Joe Mixon, number 1 in points per game for running back. Like you're starting him.
yeah, I would start mixing.
Nico Collins, again, we just talked about no L'Jarius Sneed. So, yeah, I mean, not like you were setting him, but maybe the bigger question mark was Tank Dell. Is he over under like a wide receiver 30 this week?
With no Stephon Diggs,
Yeah.
we're still having to ask this question. I mean, it's
Yeah.
Texas just sputtering over. I mean, he's wait, which one's over is better or over is worse?
I guess under would be like wide receiver 1 or 2.
Okay, I'll put him. I'll put him under, but just because of the buys.
Yeah.
Like, does Dell have a top 10 finish in fantasy this year? I don't think he does.
I can't imagine he does. I know he has
I'm
one big
checking.
touchdown, maybe earlier in the season. But yeah, it's not been fantastic for Tank Dell.
Tank Dell was the wide receiver 14 in week 9. He has not cracked the top 15 other than that.
Oh,
So
great.
yeah, I mean it's not been great. So
Not been great.
yeah,
Uh, what has been great though, for the most part, Calvin Ridley. He's not practicing Wednesday, but if he does, you could throw him back in there. Like he's been serviceable at tight
they
end.
just chuck it to them nonstop because they don't have anybody else. So that works.
They have nobody else there. Well, what Nick Westbrook Akine would argue that he has like 5 touchdowns over the past 6 games or something. So
For
yeah,
sure.
yeah, he's been
In crazy wacko leagues with bye weeks and everything. I mean, I'm even seeing people plugging him in 12 teamers this week, which is like, oh my god. But
no,
yeah, I mean the Titans have nobody else. I'm of the opinion that Will Levis's schedule to start the season was brutal.
yeah,
The last 6 weeks, it is amazingly soft against pass offenses. This is it. Like he has to finish the year strong to convince the Titans that he can still be the guy going into 2025 because not much has gone right for the Titans this year. So, the Titans are going to keep throwing because everybody, Callahan, the offensive coordinator, Levis, everybody's, nobody can say they have a lot of job security, not even the GM. So the stars are aligning for Westbrook Akine to have an okay finish. I mean, he could maintain fantasy relevance the rest of the way. He really could. There's nobody else. Traylon Burks is in Siberia somewhere breaking rocks with a sledgehammer. He's
yeah.
not in Tennessee. So yeah,
Yeah, it just what could have been in Tennessee. Like, there's so many people who just going there. Like, take a Conquo at the tight end position. You can't start him, but he looked very good. It's very limited usage there in his rookie season, but it's just gone downhill. Traylon Burks, like that's another one. Dalton Schultz. I don't think you should start him. We've talked about plenty of tight ends so far, so hopefully you're not starting either one of
Schultz
those.
or Schoonmaker. Who would you start?
Obviously assuming Jake Ferguson's out, Schoonmaker for sure. Like
Yeah, I agree.
getting peppered in
I agree.
targets in a game they're supposed to be coming back from. So yeah, no, I would go Schoonmaker for sure. That's a good heat check though, because those two. I mean, people will look at the name and say Dalton Schultz. I had him 2 years ago and he was really good. No,
Right.
yeah, let's look at this
Life
year.
comes at you fast,
Life
folks.
comes at you really fast. Fire up the Texans defense. Will Levis doesn't see pressure coming, and there's going to be a lot of that. And then, obviously the Titans, you're not starting their defense here against the Texans. Let's move on to the Lions versus the Colts. This is a 50.5-point over/under, highest over/under of the week. This is, I don't know how much of that is the Lions. The Colts are plus 7.5. Like, this is supposed to be a pretty big scoring points here for the Lions, and apparently on the Colts side as well. So Jared Goff, like, he should be a top 5. Assuming they don't rush in all of the touchdowns. That's what's been that's what's plagued Jared Goff. Like, this has been a great team, but just for him, it's been bad because they've just been rushing in every single week. Like, you got the running back 6 and 10 on your roster, like that's how they're going to do it.
Yeah, exactly.
Anthony Richardson, I mean, he, highest completion percentage in his career at 66%, 272 and 1, 2 rushing touchdowns on the ground. You mentioned you're kind of chasing it. You plugging him in, you've got a lot of teams on bye. I've given you a heat check a few times on him. I want to know how high you'll go. Baker Mayfield, somebody who's gotten you this far so far in the season versus the Giants, or Anthony Richardson in this game.
I'll go
Assuming Mike
Mayfield
Evans.
there.
Okay, yeah.
I'll go I mean, Mayfield's owed it. He should be in the MVP conversation more than he is. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, that's probably quarterback 10 is what you're looking at this week or so.
For Mayfield,
For Mayfield, yeah.
I'd even bump him up to like 8.
Okay.
I mean, the matchup is soft. The Bucks have to have this game. I'd go that high, but you're in the right range. Yeah.
Okay. Running backs, obviously, both Lions running backs are a go. You can start either one of them. They've just been amazing. Jonathan Taylor, yeah, you're starting him. Lower your expectations just a little bit. This rush defense for the Lions, they're fourth. Like, they're one of the run stopping defenses, but to let you pass on them. Since they're letting you pass on them, I mean, are you throwing in Josh Downs, Michael Pittman, Alec Pierce, Adonai Mitchell? Like, are you starting any of those guys here this game? And if so, which one or two?
I mean, obviously it's a crapshoot. I would to really say with any conviction, I want to look at like, you know, really dig into the underbelly of like, okay, what how are the Lions defending the slot? How are they defending,
Yeah.
guys who take 75% plus percent of their snaps on the perimeter? Um, without having looked at that recently on the Lions defense, it's just hard to say. I trust that Pittman now second game back. I actually didn't see what his numbers were against the Jets.
I think it was like 5 or 4 for, out of 8 targets. Like he was the target leader, but
Right.
he was the one who didn't get touchdown. He's like 40 or 50 yards. It wasn't a bad day. It wasn't a great day, especially for you drafted Michael Pittman in like the second or third round. Josh Downs was the one who found the touchdown, so that's what
Sure.
pushed him over a little bit. Um,
I'd still go with Pittman. Yeah, I'm gonna go with the guy who has the contract, has been a good player for most of his career. I wouldn't fault somebody for starting Josh Downs here. I
yeah,
wouldn't he may actually be creating some space between himself, Mitchell, Pierce as the number 2 option in this passing game coming down the stretch. So yeah, and I mean they're going to be throwing like the Jonathan Taylor's probably going to be getting nowhere fast against the Detroit front. So, but I mean the floor is concerning still. We have to keep in mind that Anthony Richardson has had his struggles, so we'll see.
he certainly has. I have Pittman at the top, Josh Downs right behind him, but very, very close. And then if Alec Pierce or Adonai Mitchell have a better game, it's because they caught a 70-yard touchdown. So I'm not really
Pretty much,
banking
which they
on
could.
that. And
They
they
could.
they very much could, especially against this defense. Amon-Ra St. Brown, you're starting him touchdown in 8 straight games. Like I expect that to continue here. And then Jamison Williams, sure. Again, always an upside pick for a big touchdown, like just as he did last week. And he did the beast mode thing where he
Did.
jumped in. Dude, the Lions in their celebration, like they had a Dragon Ball Z one with Amon-Ra St. Brown. It looked so sick. He did the one where he
They
was on
take
his
it serious.
head a couple of weeks ago. Like they when your part of your practice includes touchdown celebrations, like you're doing that for an hour and how to do it, like you're doing something right. Yeah, I mean, it's
Campbell knew they were going to be scoring. He was like, "Guys, we got to up the touchdown celebration game.
yeah.
This we're looking terrible out there.
Oh, I got
If
three
we're
ready
scoring
for
all these
this.
touchdowns."
Yeah, they're like, I got 3 ready for the season. It's like you need 3 ready for a game. Like get
Exactly.
ready because this is how it's gonna go. Okay, Sam Laporta, he's practicing a full. You can start him. You know, name the Colts
Yeah.
tight end, and then you make sure you bench him. It's Kylan Granson, I think, at this stage. But yeah,
Look, I don't. This is not. This is apropos of nothing. It is in no way relevant to anything we're doing here. But go look up Kylan Granson when you're done listening to the podcast, or even pause it right now, but then resume listening to it after. You go look up Kylan Granson, Google image search him, and tell me that guy doesn't look like large Drake. He looks like Drake. Okay, if your league has scoring for that, you need to bear that in mind. Otherwise, yeah, we don't care about Colts tight ends for fantasy. Sorry, Ben.
Otherwise, stay away. The Lions, yeah, I mean they're a fine start here. I'd certainly start them against Anthony Richardson. You're not starting the Colts. You haven't started the Colts all year. I'd rather start a team that's on bye than start the Colts defense because I know they're going to get me 0 instead of negative. The Lions
Point.
are putting up 50 on it seems everybody. So yeah, you're staying away from the Colts defense. A couple of later Sunday games here: Broncos versus the Raiders. It's a 41.5 point over under. This one here, Bo Nix, we talked about him earlier. You're starting him. He's been on fire. You're not starting Gardner Minshew. So this one will kind of, when you have the Raiders on the docket, it's going to be one we can kind of blow through. Javonte
Start your
Williams.
Broncos. Don't
Yes,
start your Raiders except for Bowers.
exactly. That's Jacoby Myers. He's a flex play.
Don't love it. Don't love it.
I don't
So,
love it either. But a wide receiver 3 maybe.
gun to my head. Sure. Gun to my
Yeah,
head.
but yeah, you're really not
Fair amount of
starting.
that.
You're not starting any Raiders players like Alexander Madison, Zamir White. They're both not practicing. It's if anybody is going to be Amir Abdullah, which he hasn't been relevant for 10 years, or Dylan Laube. Like there's a few different ways. I have zero confidence in them. This week and
Every year, I mean, obviously we're current.
yeah,
We stay up on the NFL comings and goings. So yeah, but every year, even now, a running back pops his head up where I'm like, that guy is still in the league.
yeah,
I thought he died. So yeah, no, Amir Abdullah, he was a Lions like second or third rounder like forever ago. How does that guy still have a job? It's amazing.
yeah.
Um, Yeah, I mean the Raiders could get shut out real easy here, or at least kept out of the end zone. So yeah, going to be a long day for the Silver and Black.
The only question we really have to answer here is Javonte Williams or Audric Estime. And the way I answer that is which one has been the ball carrier all season? Which one was the blip on the radar? And to me, that was Audric Estime. His one weird, 14 carry game where Javonte Williams had like one or two in comparison. As opposed to Javonte Williams, he disappeared for one game. So I think it's Javonte Williams who should start here, not Audric Estime. But if they're up, arguably, you could start both. I have no confidence in starting either one of them. Let's just put it that way.
I'm fine with starting either one, honestly, just because the Broncos are going to put the Raiders away real fast.
Yeah.
I have a high degree of confidence. Is it in Denver?
It's
Even if
in
not, I
Las
don't
Vegas.
care. It's in Vegas. I don't care. The Broncos are serious.
Yeah.
Broncos are dead serious. They should have beat the Chiefs in Kansas City. Like they know that they are good. So, yeah, I'm not crazy about Estime, but I'd flex him. Why not? I mean, the Broncos are going to be up by a lot for a lot of the game. So
Yeah.
that's the game script you want to chase. If you're ever going to start a guy like Estime, now's the time. Yeah, start your Broncos, not your Raiders. Pretty simple stuff. Let's move on to one of the. This might be the best game of the week because of, well, I say might because one of these teams is not the version that we saw last year. 49ers at Green Bay.
Yeah.
With an over under of 48, which is that a touch high? No, I guess it's about right. That sounds about right.
I'm seeing like 30 to 24 in my eyes. So just above. Like I would take the over.
The Niners could only get 17 at home against the Seahawks last week, though.
Yeah.
I don't know, buddy. The Niners are 0-3 in the division. They are really struggling, and now they got to go to Green Bay, a Green Bay team that is trying to keep pace with the Lions and the Vikings. I think the Packers cover at 2.5. I think they cover handily. So yeah, that's where I'm at. Anyway.
Yeah, they're very similar teams where it's like a lot of yards after catch or big deep plays. You got playmakers on the outside, and both quarterbacks were. I would say you could play both these ones. A down week for both of them certainly. Like Brock Purdy, only 159 yards. He hasn't passed for under 200 yards since week 6 of last season. Jordan Love, I mentioned it earlier, only 17 pass attempts all game. Like it was a very ugly win that they had. If I remember correctly, he scored one passing touchdown on the very first drive and then a rushing touchdown later on. Like that was it. It was against the Bears, but the 49ers, they've been pretty good against quarterbacks, but this is one I mean, it's good defenses, but I think good offenses, I like to say. It just depends on what plays break through. We need to see how the first few drives go, and that's going to tell the whole tale of how this game's going to go, in my opinion. At running back, you're starting them both. Josh Jacobs, Christian McCaffrey.
Oh, yeah.
It's worth mentioning, in case you're worried at all, Christian McCaffrey isn't practicing today. It is a rest day. He's been limited the last 2 weeks all the way until Friday, where he practices full on Friday, and then he plays the game. He is one of the best players in football. You don't need to worry about him not practicing. Somebody traded him in a league, and they said, I'm just worried about his Achilles and stuff like that. Or rightfully so, but they're like, he's questionable on Thursday. Like, I'm still worried about him. I mean, it was for Chuba Hubbard, too. Like, this was a awful trade. Awful trade. But nevertheless, yeah, I mean, you're starting both those guys. Wide receiver, Deebo Samuel, Juwan Jennings, start him. Ricky Pearsall, that's a question. I'm not starting him. He was uninvolved last week. Are you starting Ricky Pearsall in the flex?
The floor is just too low, yeah. Like the 49ers natively, left to their own devices, they're not a high pass volume offense still. The Packers could press them toward that for sure, but you got to believe that that's what's going to happen to start Pearsall with some confidence here. So, yeah, I see your note. That's a no from me, dog. I agree. Juwan and Deebo are the real guys. Pearsall aspires to be a real guy one day.
Yeah. Jaden Reed, Christian Watson, he's coming off a career game, but
You're calling this a career game for a guy that scored 3 touchdowns in a game once? You better put some respect back on this young man's name.
And yardage is 150 yards. He never had 150
yards. I know
yards.
it was 150 yards, but career game, I mean, come on.
Yeah, you're right. Are you starting Christian Watson? Are you chasing it? You putting him in the flex?
I'm starting him. Yeah.
Yeah.
The the Packers got to feature their best players
They do.
because it's coming toward we're in the stretch run now. They're trying to make a playoff run. It's time to get the real guys up, and I think Reed and Watson are the real receivers here. I don't Romeo Dobbs is he's got some jag to him for me. So Reed and Watson they do fairly different things, but you can both get the ball in their hands, you know, over the middle of the field and let good things happen.
Yeah.
That's where the game is at. That's where the NFL is at right now. Romeo Dobbs would be a much better player 15 years ago, 10 years ago, as more of a conventional X type of guy where, he's trying to beat his man down the sideline. That the NFL is doing less of that than ever. So, yeah, Watson, Reed starts, Dobbs. If you are shorthanded, you got to do it. I
Yeah.
don't hate it, but it's iffy.
At tight end, George Kittle, he's gotten you here. He plans on playing, so you're playing him. Tucker Kraft, it was a very, very down week last week. He's streamable. He's in the streamable category. I think you could definitely throw him in there if you want. And then the defense.
Let's not panic on Kraft.
Yeah.
He's been a one.
And then the defenses, again, like I was talking about with Tucker Kraft, like there were 17 pass attempts. Like not everybody could eat, especially when you have Christian Watson, going downfield and getting these big plays. Like that's how it's going to go sometimes. These defenses, the Packers and 49ers, they're both top 10 defenses. They've gotten you here. I'm trying to avoid playing either one of them in this one. If I have to play one, it's the 49ers. And there's much better defenses you can play this week. Cardinals at the Seahawks. We got another divisional game here. This one here is 47.5 point over under. It's in Seattle. Expected to be just a little bit of rain. So that one you want to monitor a little bit. And when I say rain, don't think of you and I catching the ball. These guys are professional and they have so many different things on their hands to help them catch the balls. Like it is not something to really worry about unless there's wind with it and other things. So yeah, a little bit of rain. Not too scary.
Are you implying that DK Metcalf uses Stickum?
I'm not saying he doesn't.
That's a big allegation.
Did you see that Gatorade commercial with him in the offseason? Like that guy can jump 17 feet. He makes the Stickum. Let's just put it that way.
That's true. His body secretes it.
Yeah, that's wild. The Cardinals, they lead the NFC West. They're 6-4, but Kyler hasn't beat the Seahawks since October of 2020. It has been a long time since Kyler has beaten them. You're starting him here this week. He's averaging 18 fantasy points per game. And Geno Smith, past 3 matchups versus the Cardinals, he's thrown 2 touchdowns in each of them. Like I think you could start him too against the Cardinals. Neither one of these defenses scare me for the most part.
Yeah, this feels like a game where it's going to be a back and forth affair.
Mm-hmm.
We should not lack for fantasy production. We should not lack for points. And it's a huge game. I mean, really both teams got to have it. Like the Cardinals, to have done what they've done, they go to San Francisco, they get that huge win, they kill the Rams earlier in the season. For them to let this one get away, it would really be wind out of their sails big time. And for the Seahawks, like they just got their season back on track last week in San Francisco.
Yeah.
They can take control, not take control of the division, but put themselves in position to take control of the division with a win here. It is such a huge spot. This if you can watch this game, I think you guys really should, because these are two teams that are on I would say both teams are on the verge of an identity. The Seahawks have a new head coach. Cardinals still kind of do in Jonathan Gannon, but they're not really sure, is Kyler Murray really going to be the guy going forward? This is a big spot for both quarterbacks, both teams. Kyler's a start. Geno he's a start. He's at home. I'm not worried about the rain. And the running backs too. Connor, obviously a start. Kenneth Walker, obviously a start. You were saying before the podcast when one of the guys in one of your leagues is, because of bye weeks, is going to be forced to start Zach Charbonnet. That's not a start. That's not a thing.
That is not a start. Don't start Zach Charbonnet. Could you start Trey Benson? That's a question that some people have here. He certainly should be rostered in most leagues because James Conner just hasn't finished the season. But I think in a pinch, is second flex type thing. But outside of that, I mean, you kind of got to look away.
The Cardinals were putting the Jets out of their misery when Benson had 87 yards before the bye. He hasn't played more than 30% of the snaps in a game since week 2. You're not starting him this week. That's a Zach Charbonnet level desperation play.
So hopefully you're not going down to those depths. Wide receiver, Marvin Harrison Jr., start him. He was our trade for target 3 weeks ago when we mentioned him because this upcoming schedule, it's so nice. DK Metcalf, Jackson Smith and Jigba, like you're starting both of them. Tyler Lockett is somebody who's got increasingly less snaps. You've seen JSN's workload go up and Tyler Lockett's, consequently go down. So it's not a horrible option, but you've got probably better streamers out there. Maybe you picked up Juwan Jennings off of waivers a few weeks ago, or I mean, I'm not going to like Xavier Leggett or Tyler Lockett. I'd probably go Lockett there, but that's where we're looking. Like we're looking at wide receiver 3-4 range.
I mean, let's keep in mind that the Seahawks run a ton of three wide receiver, and they have one of the highest pass neutral, highest pass rates in neutral game script in the league. They are not the Pete Carroll Seahawks anymore at all. They have completely dispensed with that identity. Um, so Lockett's on the field pretty much not quite as much as Lockett, but just or as much as JSN, but close. So Lockett could pop here, but the Cardinals defense is actually kind of middle of the road. They're not something they play a ton of zone. Gino doesn't necessarily thrive against nonstop zone looks. So yeah, Lockett's low floor, but not like you put in the notes. You could do a lot worse.
Yeah. Trey McBride, you're starting him. He's still looking for his first receiving touchdown of the season. Noah Fant, no thank you. You're not starting either.
Noah, thank you.
Yeah, you're not starting either defense here. Sunday Night Football. Now
Fant's coming back from injury too. Yeah.
This is one that I'm excited to watch. You're talking about games to watch here this week. Sunday Night Football, Monday Night Football. I think this one was originally a Monday Night Football game, but they moved the schedule around. It was like a doubleheader, and then they changed this one around. But this is Eagles versus the Rams. They're playing in LA. The 50.5 point over under. It opened up at 47.5. So people are thinking there's going to be some scoring here in this one, which if you look at the Eagles defense at all, they've been strong. We'll talk about them in here in a second. But Jalen Hurts, tending to an ankle injury, he's going to play. Matthew Stafford, Campbell, like we'll talk about the Eagles here. Let me just go ahead and talk about the Eagles defense. Like they've, since the bye in week 5, the highest yardage receiver against the Eagles has been Jamar Chase, and that was for 54 yards. Like with that being said, however, I'm still firing up Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp. Like they're just too good. 6 bye weeks. Like you have to start them. But man,
But look at who the Eagles have played. They played the last gasp of Deshaun Watson. They played Daniel Jones. Joe Burrow, yeah, they were decent against the Bengals. They played a banged up Trevor Lawrence in his last game before he went out. And then they played the Cooper Rush LOL Cowboys. And then last week they were good against the Commanders. They were.
yeah,
That was legitimate. But they haven't really played anybody.
all
So
those top receivers though, Malik Neighbors,
yeah,
CeeDee Lamb, Brian Thompkins Jr.
the defense has been good, but
Yeah,
that doesn't mean that Stafford couldn't put 300 on him. He's been doing it to everybody. So
that's true.
this is what the Rams do. The offense goes in phases where all of a sudden everything is flowing through the air, and then all of a sudden for weeks on end everything's flowing through Kyron Williams. They're flowing through the air a lot right now.
Yeah, no, they certainly are. And again, we're talking about teams with 6 buys. Like when we get to the running back position, Saquon Barkley, you're firing him up. But Kyron Williams, like you've got to fire him up. I think you've got to lower a little bit of expectations. Like again, we're talking about since the bye and how good their defense has been coming out of it. No running back has gone for more than 63 rushing yards on them. I'm seeing Kyron's rushing line at 75.5. So if you're a betting man, I'm not saying, but that under looks pretty juicy. Wide receiver, AJ Brown, yes. Devonta Smith, right now he's currently not practicing with a hamstring issue, so something to monitor there. If he plays, I'm firing him up. I'm not really worried about any kind of limited usage. We already talked about Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp. They're too good to set. You're not setting them. Dallas Goedert, like, are you playing him if Devontae Smith is in or out, or does it matter at all?
I just can't get there with Goddard anymore. The way we were with Pitts coming into this season, that's where I'm at with Goddard.
Yeah.
Like the offense just doesn't need him unless it's all like against the Saints when everybody else was hurt, then yeah, he went nuts. But it's almost the circumstances that he needs to thrive. The Rams linebacker group and safety group has been quite good. The defense is Cam Kinchins should be a D-Roy candidate in a less who's the runaway D-Roy favorite? I can't even think of his name right now.
I can't.
Oh, Quinion Mitchell. Is it Quinion? I know he's been
Yes.
fantastic. Anyway, um, obviously snip snip. So yeah, the Rams defense has been passable. I don't love Goddard. And just circling back real quick, Kyron, I was saying that the Rams go in fits and starts. Kyron had 10 touchdowns through week 8. He has not scored a touchdown since. So yeah, curb your expectations on that front, guys. What about at tight end for the Rams? Is there anybody that you? Yeah, no, I
I am
agree.
not
Davis Allen,
starting
I'm not chasing it.
not playing Colby Parkinson. I'm not playing the ghost of Tyler Higbee if he ends up suiting up soon. I know he's supposed to be coming back, but no, I'm not playing with that. I think you could. I'm of the side that the Eagles defense kind of got you here. They've been pretty good. I think you could start them. I'm not as optimistic against the. I mean, I'm not. You're not putting the line at 300 for Matthew Stafford, but I'm closer like 200 yards than I am 300. I think that the receivers can eat. I'm not optimistic on Matthew Stafford.
I think he'll top 250 personally.
Yeah, 250 is probably a better line. So I'm not starting the Eagles defense. You can, if you're the person who wants to just run through and just play any matchup that comes along and not really stream. So you can do that. Rams defense, you're not playing them. Let's get into the last matchup here. Monday Night Football, another good one. It seems like Chargers have been on prime time for like the last 3 weeks.
Seriously,
We're just getting to see all of their games. I don't know if Harbaugh had a say in that or whatnot, but here we are. This one here, 47.5 point over under. You got Lamar Jackson. You got Justin Herbert. You're firing both those guys up. This should be a really 47.5. It's a good line, but I'm taking the over in this one. I think it should be pretty good. Derrick Henry, you're playing him. J.K. Dobbins, this reminds me of Brian Robinson last week, where you're playing against the Ravens and you're like, hey, I need something. And he got a touchdown, and then he kind of saved your day. And that's what you're hoping for with J.K. Dobbins, in my opinion. Like, he's not looked great. I think he had two. Did he have 2 touchdowns last week?
he did.
And
One
he
through
had
the air,
like
one by land.
and he had like 18 points. So to give you
Gus
context,
Edwards had the work to himself for, I believe, the Chargers' first 2 drives.
yeah,
Dobbins and until they got down on the goal line, Dobbins I did not see on the field personally watching that game.
yeah,
So don't let Dobbins' 2 touchdowns last week fool you. He's got some real workload question marks going forward.
absolutely, yeah. When Edwards is getting up at that, up there, and like they're trying to get him worked back into the offense. Like as soon as I saw him, and I'm playing against J.K. Dobbins, I was like, oh, Edwards on the field, yeah, it's gonna be a good night. And then he scores 18 because the 2 touchdowns. That's happened.
So obviously Greg Roman is the offensive coordinator for John Harbaugh here, because that's John Harbaugh won't coach unless Greg Roman is his offensive coordinator. It's in his contract. Roman against the Ravens, who fired him a year and a half ago. Edwards and Dobbins, ex Ravens. There is some prime time Monday Night Football. There are some revenge game considerations here, I would say.
I think that the revenge game part might go a little bit through the air, through Lad McConkey, who's been on fire, who Quentin Johnston, who
That makes
has
more sense.
looked better. Just because you can pass on them, obviously, a lot easier than you can run on them. 32nd again. They're 32nd best though. The Ravens.
Top 40.
We'll take that. We will take that.
Greg Roman is going to tell the receivers to go down at the 1 so that Dobbins and Edwards.
I told
That's what it's gonna
you. Yeah, exactly. Speaking about going down at the 1, it seems like I've seen Zay Flowers do that a couple times here this season. You're playing him. He's been fabulous so far, which was a guy who we were very much questioning. Going into the season, we were like,
I was especially, and I was wrong.
no,
I was wrong.
Likewise, and I'll admit to that. Like Zay Flowers just looked great. It kind of coincides with us thinking Mark Andrews was going to be very involved, and then Rashad Bateman, is he flexible?
He is. Obviously, the Deontay Johnson trade scared the daylights out of everybody, myself included.
Yeah.
Like I said in the show last week, the Ravens didn't give up anything for him, so they don't necessarily value him as necessarily a starter, more than they do so as like high quality depth.
Yeah.
So they've stuck with Bateman so far. I don't see why they wouldn't here. It's not a great spot though. I mean, again, it's a best bally type play. You're looking for the splash play or bust. So yeah, song remains the same on Bateman.
It certainly does. It tied in. Mark Andrews, down week last week. Yeah, you can start him. Will Disley, he's our guy. We want to start us some Will Disley.
Dizzle.
Will Disley get into the the end zone is the question. Even if he doesn't, I think he's still going to be very serviceable for the tight end position. And then defenses, you're not. Again, I think this is going to be over on the over under the 47.5. So yeah, I'm not starting either defense here. It's Monday night matchup.
I don't hate the Ravens defense here, but yeah, I don't love it. Yeah, if you have alternatives, then feel free to fire them up.
Well, we did it. We did it.
If you guys have additional questions, you know how to get a hold of us by now. If you've been listening for any amount of time at all, you can get in the comments on this video. If you're on the YouTube, you can get in the comments on the website post. We'll be back with you next week, same bat time, same bat channel, to run through the matchups, who to target, who to maybe avoid in your lineup dilemmas going into week 13. In the meantime, good luck out there, everybody, in week 12. Go eat that W, folks.
We'll see you then.
Good luck, everybody.
This has been the Fantasy Index Podcast. For more great content, premium rankings, and cheat sheets, head over to fantasyindex.com.